It's a back and forth game to end a back and forth homestand for the Kraken. Frustrating, but fitting. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken lose to the team that handed them their franchise's first ever win way back at the start of the season, as they fall 4-2 to the Nashville Predators in a tennis match of a game. It really was a back and forth game all night long, with the puck moving up and down the ice, chances at both ends of the ice, one right after another, and momentum switching between the two teams faster than, well, really either team could build momentum off of. Ultimately, at the end of it, leaving an all too familiar feeling at this point of a game that the Kraken probably should have been able to win by at least one goal, but somehow end up on the other side of the scoreboard. The night actually starts off well for the Kraken, as not only is Davy Jones there, whom the Kraken had been undefeated when he was there, until tonight anyway, but Brandon Tanev is also in the building, coming off of his successful knee surgery. And I should be clear, he wasn't playing in this game, he still is out for the rest of the season, but he was with the Kraken as the hype man getting things going before the game. Though, as the game gets started, it's right into that back and forth play that again would become a theme throughout the course of the entire night. Gord and Yarncroke get a 2-on-1 chance that ends up falling short as the pass doesn't get through to Yarncroke, which also would become a theme throughout the course of the night in and of itself, as Yarncroke gets a number of these chances on odd man breaks, but just can't find the back of the net against his old team. Again, with his teammates definitely making a pretty obvious effort to get him that goal. Then, a sloppy line change by the Kraken leads to a 2-on-1 chance for the Predators going the other way, which Grubauer makes a nice save on that shot, and then a second nice save on the rebound chance, as we get through the first few minutes of this game with a number of shots off on goal on both goals, but with the score still knotted up at 0. Nashville ends up getting the first power play of the game about 5 minutes into it, and it's a power play that the Kraken are actually able to kill off fairly well with only a couple of chances on goal, and not particularly dangerous ones at that. Then, right after the power play ends, McCann nearly puts a puck in the Nashville net at the other end of the ice, but Saros makes a nice toe save to keep it out. Fortunately for the Kraken though, this sequence does lead to a Kraken power play. Although I'm sure there are those of you out there who might not see that as a particularly fortunate thing, even as Kraken fans, with this Kraken power play really not looking particularly good over, well, pretty much this entire 6-game homestand. Already at this point having given up one more goal to the opposing team shorthanded on the power play than they have scored in that time. As for whatever reason, over these last few games, the team has looked better 5-on-5 than they have 5-on-4. Fortunately, they're not going to spend too much time 5-on-4 in this power play, because right off of the face-off to start the power play, there's another penalty on the Predators, and the Kraken are going to get 2 minutes of 5-on-3 time. Of course, just a game ago, the Kraken did come up empty after a full minute of 5-on-3 time, so I guess we'll have to see what happens here, as it's definitely far from a sure thing, even though it should be at this point. And it has to be said that it really doesn't get off to a particularly good start for the Kraken, as although they are able to keep the puck in the offensive zone, as they very much should be able to 5-on-3, they're really just not moving it around enough to create those high danger scoring chances and keep Saros on his toes. Finally, though, about a minute into it, Gio dishes it over to McCann for the one-timer, and he puts it in short side under Saros' glove to give the Kraken the 1-0 lead. Seattle is able to continue pressuring and get a few more shots on goal in the remaining minute of the second power play, but they can't get that 2-0 lead on the power play, and we get back to 5-on-5, with Seattle still at least getting the lead and breaking the 0-for streak on the power play, even if it was 5-on-3. Then, a little bit later, a broken defensive play by the Preds gives Eberle a 1-on-1 chance against Saros, but Saros is able to come up with the save, as Eberle remains snake bit, much like he was at the beginning of the season. That sequence somehow leads to another Seattle Kraken power play, which just never really gets going whatsoever, as it is killed off successfully by the Predators. Right after it, though, Gord gets on a completely free breakaway, but he also cannot figure out a way to beat Saros, as the Kraken are getting chance after chance to build a 2-goal lead, but just aren't able to do it. Eventually, Nashville does get their second power play of the game with just 3 minutes left in the first period, which the Kraken are able to kill off quite effectively. However, after the power play comes to an end, with just 21 seconds left in the period, a Kunin shot finds its way under Grubauer's pads and into the net to tie the game again with just 21 seconds left in the first. It's a goal that, quite frankly, Grubauer just has to be able to come up with a save on. He's in position to make the save, but just doesn't get his pad to the ice in time to make it. And after the game, Hackstall would say as much, that this is a save Grubauer has to have, especially with it being just 21 seconds before the end of the period, where the Kraken were going to be able to go into that first intermission with a 1-0 lead, which, to be perfectly fair, they had absolutely earned, looking like the better team throughout the course of the first period, once again having a strong first period, which hasn't been something they've been known for, but this time it even showed on the scoreboard up until now. It's another back and forth start to a period to start off the second, though this time we're starting off at 4-on-4 after traded penalties following that Nashville goal at the end of the first, with Dunn pushing Cousins in the face after he gets called for unsportsmanlike conduct. The Kraken are able to get a number of shots off on goal, but at this point, Saros is making it very clear that he's on his game tonight. Then Nashville pushes back the other way with a power play of their own that spends pretty much the entire 2 minutes in the Seattle offensive zone, but it's killed off successfully by the Kraken, thanks in large part to Grubauer. And really, other than that, it's a rather uneventful first half of the second period, and remains that way until about the 12-minute mark, when a couple of nice blocks by Gio in the Kraken defensive zone lead to a transition to the other end of the ice, where a flubbed shot by Johansson ends up in the corner, eventually onto Gord's stick, who feeds it out net front for Larson, crashing to the net, a one-timer, and it's in for the goal to give the Kraken the 2-1 lead. It's a beauty of a pass by Gord, and a good job from Larson to split the Nashville defense, get in front of the net, take advantage of the Gord pass, and put it into the back of the net to give the Kraken back the lead. Unfortunately, it wouldn't last long, as just a couple minutes later, Nashville is able to respond right back to tie the game at 2, off of what can only be described as an absolutely stunning shot from Forsberg, unassisted, skating into the Kraken zone. He picks his spot and puts it top corner from the outside past Grubauer, in really the only spot that he was gonna beat Grubauer on. Even after making sure to acknowledge that this was a great shot from one of the few players in the league who could make it, after the game, Hackstall said he thought this was another one that Grubauer probably could have come up with, considering the shot came from the outside. But I don't know. Personally, I have a hard time putting this one too much on Grubauer. Ultimately, it's just a perfectly placed shot, and it gets there faster than just about any other player could put it there. So at least for me, if we're going to be handing out blame on this one, I think it falls a little bit more on the defense for allowing Forsberg to skate the puck as far into the offensive zone as he did, uncontested, and get that shot off without being challenged. Really though, it's just a great shot from Forsberg. I mean, there is a reason that it's already his 21st on the season. Besides, by the end of the game, the bigger problem here is that a minute and 15 seconds later, the puck is in the back of the Kraken net again. This time to give Nashville the lead on a wraparound chance by Ekholm that, while it isn't on net, goes across the crease, off of Dunn's skate, and into the net. And so, for the third time in 2 games, another unlucky bounce ends up in the Kraken net. Unfortunately, this one, unlike the 2 with Florida, the Kraken aren't able to recover from, as we know from the final score. The Kraken do press late in the second, but ultimately come up empty on a couple more shots. And finally, as really was the case with the second period, with the third period, if you missed the first half of it, you really didn't miss much of anything at all, as the first 10 minutes are rather uneventful, leading up to a Kraken power play as Nashville gets caught for too many men in the ice right at the halfway point of the period. This Kraken power play gets a couple of chances, but really nothing particularly dangerous, until Donskoy right at the end of it gets a very good scoring chance. But of course it's Donskoy, so yeah, you know that puck isn't ending up in the net. I mean, we talked about Eberle being snake bit again earlier, but nothing compares really in the entire NHL to what Donskoy's been going through this season. Following another failed power play, Blackwell has a nifty play at the blue line, breaking a few ankles on a rush of his own, but gets stopped before he gets much of a shot off. Then Eberle gets his second rush chance of the game, but again, it seems like at this point, we're back to early season Eberle, who, no matter what he does, also, like Donskoy, can't find the back of the net. And next, it's Seattle's turn to get caught for too many men, so it's Nashville to the power play, and actually, the Kraken get the first good scoring chance. It's a 2-on-1 shorthanded rush for Wennberg and Järnkrok. Wennberg passes it to Järnkrok, trying to get him the game-tying goal against his old team, but as I mentioned earlier, it obviously doesn't go in. And then a little bit later, but still on the power play, the Predators are able to convert. It's Duchesne next to the net off of a rebound from the end boards, who's able to put it in past Grubauer just before he can seal off the post. And Nashville, on the power play, takes the 4-2 lead. Eventually, the Kraken pull Grubauer with 3 minutes left. There isn't an empty net goal, but there also isn't a Seattle goal, and this game does end 4-2 in the Predators' favor. Ultimately, what this loss ends up coming down to is, yes, in part, that soft goal that Grubauer lets up at the end of the first period, but also just an inability by this offense to finish with a number of rush chances and good scoring opportunities throughout the course of this game. On the power play, 5-on-5, and even that one shorthanded towards the end of the game. A lot of that does have to do with the fact that Saros is a very good goaltender for Nashville and was absolutely on his game in this one, but they've got to figure out a way to get the puck in the net with as many opportunities as they were given in this one, with a little bit of sloppy play defensively from the Preds. It also has to be said that this power play really needs to get something figured out, as they have regressed to that power play that we saw at the beginning of the season. Still though, outside of the final score, not a terrible game by the Kraken by any means. They outshoot the Nashville Predators 35-27, and a number of those were pretty high danger scoring opportunities, just not enough of them on the power play. And really throughout the course of this entire game, especially the first period, as that is one thing that they have started to trend in the right direction in, the Kraken, I thought, played the better game and slightly edged out the Nashville Predators in most aspects. Unfortunately, that scoreboard does continue to be a problem for them. So hopefully they can continue to build off of this, especially their play in these last couple of first periods, start to get things turned around at least a little bit, and maybe even get a couple more wins as they now head out on the road for a couple games before the All-Star break. Although, if they are going to do that in this next game, they're going to have to do it against an absolutely blisteringly hot Pittsburgh Penguins team who has won 17 of their last 19 games, dating all the way back to the last time these two teams faced. So yeah, they're going to have to pull off another big upset if they want to win that one. Until then though, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. And as always, if you have made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoy this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below that help support the channel. And until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and go Kraken.